All right, welcome everyone to Tabletop, where we talk all things tabletop. I'm your host, the Bella Gamer, with my co-host Glue Boy,
Hello, hello.
and we have two wonderful guests, and I'll just let you guys introduce yourselves.
What up, Sully? I'm Kevin. I'm one of the Lightcallers, the light half, and my co-host.
I'm Zach. I am the callers half. But yeah.
Yep, we're big Cosmere YouTubers. We are known for our crackpot theories and almost getting it right sometimes. So, so check us out on YouTube.
Gotta love some good theories.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, honestly,
Yes.
I have been ever since like discovering your channel through this collab we did recently. I've been watching a lot of your videos recently. I also saw you guys playing as a bit in one of yours, the Mistborn card game. That looks wild. The
Oh
deck
my
building.
gosh.
Oh, I forgot that was a thing.
That game is maybe one of my top board games ever, and it has nothing to do with the Cosmere part of it. It's just mechanically, I love that game.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not a big like deck builder card game person. I've tried to get into it before and it's really not my thing. But this deck builder, I love it. We play it almost every week whenever we can. And yeah, it has nothing to do with the Cosmere. I mean, the art is really cool. It's just I think the mechanics of how the metals are used in building your deck was just a really cool mechanic, and it's very fun to try to build your deck around every time.
Mm-hmm.
It's honestly really surprising how much Mistborn specifically has so many, I guess, out of book things. Because there's, I think, there's another attempt to make it into a tabletop game, which is where you can get the little Kelsier prequel short story.
Yeah, the Crafty Games version. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to actually read that book. I'm super curious how it hits.
Evan has the books.
Oh,
I have
hell
the
yeah.
books. I gave up on trying to learn this one when they announced the Cosmere RPG, unfortunately. But it definitely is interesting. It's a lot less D&D 20-sided die based, from what I remember. Again, I haven't played it, but from what I heard online, it's pretty gritty and pretty mechanically complicated, which is some
Book's
people's thing.
pretty thick.
All 7 books are actually decent.
Oh, okay.
That's insane. Just for Mistborn.
Well, that's Era 2 expansion. There's a campaign setting in there, but yeah, no, it's a cool idea though. I might get around to a review on that one day.
It's like I think it's a fun thing to pull out if when you're not covering all the new stuff. Just like, oh yeah, hey, by the way, last little tidbit addendum to the Cosmere RPG. What about the old one?
Right?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe we'll do a comparison video in the future.
That'd be really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so you guys make content just on Cosmere stuff, all the fun stuff, all the theories, all that kind of stuff. But I'm sure many other probably don't know too much about what's your overall experience with like tabletop gaming.
Yeah, you want to start, Zach?
Yeah, I probably have less experience than Kevin does. I've never actually GM'd a game in my life, but I have played many games. One of my closest friends, Harrison, who, funny story, before doing Lightcallers, I helped co-produce another YouTube channel for my friend Harrison called Tabletop Sandbox, and he's a phenomenal GM. Plays a lot of different games. He started me with Pathfinder, and then I played 5e with him when it came out, and then he started getting into a bunch of other games, Dungeon World, Blades in the Dark, Cogent, just a hodgepodge of different types of games. Sorry,
You're back.
Yeah,
I'm back. Okay, okay. Yeah, just a hodgepodge of different games. He tends to prefer the more roleplay heavy games as opposed to the really crunchy games. As you can probably tell from the journey I just said about those games. And those tend to be the types of games that I enjoy playing too. I really like the roleplay aspect of tabletop games and getting into character and playing a story more so than playing a crunchy game. Which is fun too. I'll do both. But yeah, I'm a full-time player, but I would love to GM at some point. Just I've not had many opportunities to do so because I'm friends with a lot of very good GMs.
That's a very fortunate thing to have.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And being one of those GMs of his, I kind of come from the opposite side of things. I'm the eternal GM, cursed to always run the crew. I started out with Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, Critical Role era. You know, everything was Dungeons and Dragons. So I didn't play much, you know, growing up. But I think I was junior year of high school when all that was coming out, maybe a little older, and so. We got really into it. I played in 3 campaigns that ended after 4 sessions of scheduling conflicts, which was really distressing because I was getting invested in these characters. And so I decided I would run a campaign that wasn't going to end. And Harrison, Tabletop Sandbox, Zach, and our friend Joe, I believe, and Michael. Yeah, we had a couple of other friends, not on YouTube, join us. And we played, I think it was 6-hour sessions every Friday. We would take a break to get Chinese food almost every week. Ooh. And we played for, I think, almost a year, wasn't it, Zach?
Yeah, no, it was a year of playing like 6 to 10 hour days on the weekends, and just every week. It was crazy.
We somehow all had the same day off, and it was perfect. And we ran that campaign to level, I think, 15. And it was so much. That was what made me fall in love with these role-playing games. I haven't been blessed to have a crew that committed and dedicated ever since, but
it's hard. It's hard to find. Yeah,
it is.
So I was cursed to 5e for a really long time, and then Tabletop Sandbox was actually my introduction to things like Dungeon World, Blades in the Dark, and so now I've actually started GMing a Dungeon World campaign here and there with a couple friends, and that's really fun. It's very different, not being so nitty gritty with the rules like D&D requires, or how I GM, which is making the rules exactly what I want them to be.
Yeah, that's how you run D&D, to be fair.
Absolutely. Yep. That's cool. So you're gonna do it, but yeah. So I've been GMing for a long time, but I do have the blessing of playing the Dungeon World campaign. Me, Zach, our friend Thomas, and Harrison runs for us every Monday. So that a lot of role playing for a long time, but
not quite a forever GM. You do occasionally get to be a player, which is fun.
Yes. Our Dungeon World campaign started this year, and I think that's the first time I've gotten to be a player in 5 years. So I've been blessed lately, not gonna lie.
Yeah, well, sounds like y'all fit right at home here on the channel. I don't know how much if you guys are watching any of my stuff at all, but I've just been doing tabletop for a while. I started off making content on Pathfinder 2nd edition when that came out right around COVID time. You know, as a lot of channels started around that time. You know, what else were you gonna do in all the time? But I've been playing for decades at this point, so it's just been my life passion to look into and play a bunch of games. And Cosmere has been so fun to look into, and we just started Stonewalkers this week, and the first session went really good. We started off on the second chapter because we played Bridge 9, so we were already level 2.
Right.
And fortunately, one of the players wanted to play a Stone Ward during Bridge 9, so it was a really convenient kind of plot hook into the overall Stonewalkers story. Some things have been changed around about, but we've kind of got everyone together, and it's been really, really good. But other than that, yeah, I played a bunch of games. Funny enough, D&D 5e, even though it's a game I cannot stand to play anymore, I met Alex during D&D. I was running games for the local adventure league, and that's also where I met my wife. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
it's a special place in the heart.
Yeah, it's like I can't hate D&D. I can't be 100%. It can be 99, but it can't be 100.
Can always have like the issues with some rule stuff, which mainly crops up when you start really diving into other games, which I always think is just a healthy thing to do. It gives you a good appreciation for why games do certain things, and I think it helps GMs a lot, even players. Like, oh, I can do this thing. Maybe I can put this into my other game. But also, funnily enough, I also got into tabletop with the Critical Role era. Like that same time, I think instead I was like freshman year of high school, around there, and I got into it. I pulled my friends into some GM'd games that were very poorly made. We just kind of messing around for a good while. I was the only one who would GM. And then eventually, once I met Cam and he started GMing, I was like, oh, thank God I can get rid of this. I don't like GMing. It's too much prep work. I'm not a fan of that. So like, there's like a point once I met Cam, my tabletop progression is just this YouTube channel and hanging out with him, where I'm like, oh, there's all these cool other games. And then the Cosmere game is always going to be, it's quickly become one of my favorites, only because like, I'm a lore guy. I'm a big just lore guy. I run my own like lore YouTube channel. But the Cosmere has been the time where I'm like, oh, it's like looking into the lore of all these other games I enjoy. Like largely I do World of Darkness and Warhammer 40K. There's like two of my main subjects.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm so the Cosmere RPG for me personally is just like, I don't know if it's going to become my new favorite TTRPG or not. It's just, there's some things I really like about what it does, and there's not a lot we've actually done with it. When we get all the Radiance going and all their kooky, crazy powers and all that kind of stuff, the surges, then we'll see how it goes. I don't anticipate it being too hard with my group specifically, but I can definitely see how some of the surges can be a little hard with some particular types of players. I just lost a question I was going to ask. What was it? Dad brain. But, I have a different question, but it was one I was thinking of earlier. When it comes to like TTRPGs, what do you both like look for? Like what are the kind of games that you are drawn towards most?
Yeah, I feel like for me, TTRPGs, I'm kind of almost paradoxical. I like role playing a lot, but I often find myself as a GM playing a lot of games that require me to play with people who don't like role playing a lot. So I really like the games that find a good balance of specific direct actions and rules and moves. Like Dungeon World is a great example. The moves are pretty strict enough to where your players can't do anything with them, but they're also fluid enough to where players can role play a lot and do really cool things if they have the innovation to do that. But yeah, so I like a framework as a GM because it's really hard to drag people along. Like, oh, you're a thief. Do you want to maybe, I don't know, steal something? So that's it for me. I don't know. What about you, Zach?
Yeah, from someone who has only played games and luckily with very good GMs, I really enjoy games that are pretty roleplay heavy and focused. I'm a big story focused gamer. I get really invested in the stories of not just my own character or the larger world, but the stories of all of the other characters involved. And when those stories hit climaxes or they interweave with other players' stories, it's just like there's no better feeling than like getting up and fist pumping because somebody had an epic moment. Regardless if it's yourself or not, it's just so much fun to get invested into the game. And as far as like the rule set goes, I really couldn't care less. For me, a system like D&D and crunchier systems just don't lend themselves as well to generating those types of moments. Too much time is spent flipping through books and making decisions on rules and setting things up in the perfect way so that a specific action can occur. When I'd rather just, this is what I'm trying to do and let's settle it. Those are the types of games I like to play. But yeah.
So I'm curious, just a little bit more from you, Zach. How much do you like combat versus like just narrative, like exploration?
I like both. You know, like I love me some combat. I don't mind getting crunchy into combat. My problems with D&D is that turns can take forever.
Yeah.
Something that I really enjoy about like how we'll play Dungeon World is that like you will roll for the result for like an overall encounter. So like if I'm going to if I'm a barbarian, let's say, and I'm going to fight this group of people, I'm rolling once for it, and we're going to see how well I do. We're not rolling for every single swing of my axe. We're not rolling for every single time they swing back at me. There's a specific encounter happening. You roll once to see what happens, and that's the outcome. What Dungeon World does well is that you can have there's ranges of success. So like a 10 and above, you fully succeed. 7 to 9, it's a partial success, and the GM gets to decide what happens there. Otherwise, it's an outright failure, or it's not really a failure, but something negative happens. There's just a lot of wiggle room to make the story work, as opposed to focusing so much on the mechanics of the game, which can often get in the way of a good story and good roleplay. But I also, all that said, I do see the value in crunchy games and playing it by the book. That can be fun too. I just prefer the other style of play more when I'm getting together with my friends.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the things I like to talk about a lot on the channel is just, that you can enjoy something but appreciate the qualities of another. It comes up a lot because the games I cover mostly have been Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I love Pathfinder 2nd Edition. It's been my favorite game for a while. It's got such a depth to it, especially when it comes to like what characters you make. The game is so well designed that you can make kind of any kind of character you want, and you're going to be relevant. It's really hard to make a bad character. You have to intentionally make a bad character, which allows you to just make choices based on the narrative for your character for whatever you're going to do. It is a very dense, crunchy system, though. It can be very much a slog if you come unprepared or you just haven't played in a while or something like that. But I'm someone who personally likes a game that has... I like a solid 50-50, right? I want the mechanics to meet the narrative in the middle. Like, I like a crunchy game, though. So if it's a very crunchy game, but a lot of that crunch revolves around narrative elements, that's something I can really get behind. That's why I really like the Cosmere RPG and why it's kind of been moving up my list, because there's a lot of the heroic paths that have abilities that aren't necessarily combat orientated, which is nice to see in a game nowadays. Because in Pathfinder, I just had a big rant on it in one of my recent videos where I was like, this class looks like it'd be really cool in non-combat situations, but all the feats it get are all combat orientated because it's a combat orientated game. And I just give me mechanics to actually interact with people. Give me reasons and benefits for actually like forming connections with NPCs, something tangible, something to hold. Because while it's all nice and good that you can have a story where you can feel good with this, an NPC, and you can establish a narrative relationship for it, that is something, one, that not everyone can do as a tabletop player. There's a lot of people who aren't good at talking, aren't good at social skills at all, and thus, they look at NPCs as flat cardboard cutouts of story, and that's about it. And so when a game has actual like narrative, like in Cosmere, you have connections, which give you benefits for your character and can be gained as rewards, or patrons that do the same thing. I know you guys have been so busy with Emberdark lately. How much have you actually looked into the Cosmere RPG itself?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely, we've given our first impressions review, and playing with you guys at the with the Metalworks team was it was a good bit of what we've gotten to look at. As we've been researching more for videos, we've been spending more time in the world guide than the player guide, unfortunately. Yeah. But yeah, no, we definitely have dabbled with it. In fact, I think we're hopefully gearing up to start a playthrough or something pretty soon, even if it's on our channel. But yeah, we're not experts at it yet. Like, I wouldn't be comfortable GMing it yet, but decently familiar, yeah.
With that, I'm curious. with this book, with this game coming out, for each of you, was there a particular just like radiant that immediately you were jumping at the bit to possibly like make a character around or play? Because I know that's at least the boat I was in, was like, oh, finally, my favorite Radiant Order, I can play them.
Well, obviously, like, there's the Radiant Order that like you most identify with. For me, it's the Elsecaller Order. For Kevin, it's the Lightweaver Order. But honestly, like, I'm a martial player whenever I play whenever I play D&D or other tabletop games. I really want to play a Stone Ward. I really want to play the stalwart guy who can take the punches and deal the punches. Taln is one of my favorite characters in the Cosmere. He hasn't done much, but he's just I love the just the archetype of the unstoppable monster in combat. And so like Dalinar's my favorite character in the Stormlight Archive.
Yeah.
It's just so much fun. So I'm really looking forward to play that. Obviously, I'm going to want to play an Elsecaller, and I'll probably play that whenever we start our long-running campaign, whatever that's going to end up being. But yeah, that's Stone Ward is probably my answer for that.
For me, I feel like I really like the idea of playing like the bad guys in the Cosmere RPG. I feel like it's so much more fun. I could totally see myself playing a Skybreaker. And I mean, like, the Surge of Division has been so underutilized in the lore so far.
For real.
But I mean, the name Skybreaker, they fly and they light the sky on fire. That just seems cool, right? One of our buddies on our channel was joking with me how, as the Lightweaver, it would be very Lightweaver of me to want to play a Lightweaver, and it would be very Lightweaver of me to want to play every other order. And that's how I feel. I kind of want to play them all. Maybe
For
Lightweaver
real,
last, but yeah.
It's I'm currently working on a big like video going over just how magic works on Roshar, and then explaining how the Cosmere magic theory, like all that. A part I really enjoy about it is I also want to play every order at some point, because I like the idea that this universe has mechanically enforced character arcs. You have to grow. You have to make a character with baggage, with issues, and you have to work past it. So, like, making interesting characters, it just fits so well, like, with this system. And, like, I took the quiz. I most aligned with the Will Shapers. However,
I'm so sorry.
Sorry that Brandon hates you.
Yeah, I know.
That's the joke, right?
My absolute favorite order is Elsecaller, because I think their power is sick, and
that's the correct answer.
Is sick. She's second favorite, right behind Dalinar. But that's what I'm currently playing in Stonewalkers, specifically because transportation has one ability of the transportation defense. Just, I like the idea of playing a swords master duelist and just like flickering out of existence right when a strike would hit you. That's just such a specific vibe that I have to play.
Absolutely.
It's very cool.
For me, on Brandon's test, I've taken it like 5 times just because I got Windcaller every single, or not Windcaller, Windrunner every single time. But Dustbringer is just the one that I'm so drawn to in the system, because it's just so cool. The fact that Abrasion, you can get a talent that makes it where you can no longer be grazed, where an enemy can't even just nick you. It's impossible. If you're going to be hit, it's got to be dead on. And then the sheer amount of mobility Dustbringers get, in addition to just division, it's just a devastating combo. It's so good. And it's the one I'm the most interested in. But the thing I really like about the system in general is all the surges are really cool. Everything is very interesting. And even if they're not like the most combat orientated, I feel like there's still a lot in the system you can do despite that. And kind of feels unfortunate that they went with the level of depth in the system that they did, because it felt like you kind of knew what some of the surges did going into it, and then when you read about what they can do in the game, they feel like they're not quite as good as they should have been, like in the books. And that's, I think, predominantly just because they wanted to go to a certain level of depth in the overall like design principles, and so they didn't want to do all the things that surges really could do, which is very unfortunate, because what I like about the surges is some of them have like a very strong duality to them, like abrasion, for instance. Being able to increase or decrease the friction of a thing has a lot of implications, but in the game, the only thing it seems like you can do really is just remove the friction of an object, even though they have the one friction, reverse abrasion, which, sure, I guess, it's like you get advantage when you're doing things related to the thing that you made extra frictiony. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. I would have used this in a lot of different ways, but whatever, it's so good. And what makes it hard is, while the radiant paths are really cool and the powers are all super cool, the heroic paths have some of the coolest features in the game for just the overall narrative and their overall roleplay and stuff like that. Like Scholar Path has so many fun paths in it that I really, really like Strategist is really, really cool. Playing an Artifabrian would be really interesting in the setting. I've been always so interested in the Fabrial sciences, and especially with how Navani has adapted it to kind of fit the tower's, preferences. I feel like Spren taming would be such an interesting, like, mechanic to get into, because Spren are so diverse and dynamic, and you can't treat Fire Spren the same way as you would treat, like, Lux Spren, for instance. So I just think that the game is so interesting and really, really cool, but it's just like, I wanted more. I want more. I'm greedy. I just wanted more from the system at all. But I've been looking into it a lot, and I definitely don't mind sharing any of my insights. But compared to the other TTRPGs that you have played, where do you place like the Cosmere, like at least in theory, for yourselves in like your hierarchy of games?
I think I'd definitely place it above Dungeons and Dragons already pretty easily, 5th edition.
I would hope so.
Yeah, by like a lot, but just like that's the one we have the most I have the most experience with, so it's leaps and bounds beyond Dungeons and Dragons in my opinion. And even I think one of the best things about Dungeons and Dragons is how easy it is to run with people, because everyone wants to run D&D. I have already seen a lot of people in my group talking about this RPG who've never even read a Stormlight book, so it's cool to see that there seems to be some even mainstream excitement for it, because that's the hardest part, is getting people to want to play with you sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, as far as mechanics, I have my worries. I think as far as like long term, excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze. I think I'm good. As far as long term like potential the Cosmere RPG has when they expand, I can't see this not being my favorite game to play. Especially as a GM, the eventual access to Mistborn and Elantris and all these things are really exciting to me. But yeah, I would say like I'd still probably prefer running a Dungeon World over the Cosmere RPG, just from the ease of it. So I'd put it smack dab in the middle of most of my experience.
Okay.
Yeah. As a pure player, I don't know yet. I really need to play this game longer. I had a lot of fun in the one shot that we did. I am a little bit worried about the dynamics of groups that have both radiance and non-radiance, and how that will be handled at different tables by different GMs. I think it can be a little too easy for the radiance to take up the spotlight, and it might just be a little bit more work to try to get the non-radiance stories interesting in the overall narrative, because at the end of the day, the state of the game right now, I feel like this is the Knights Radiant game.
Yeah.
I feel like they released all 9 orders. You can play a Radiant from all 9 orders, and there's specific rules for every single one of those. And so there's going to be so much replayability in just trying out every single one of these and being able to pick different specs in each of these different trees for the normal trees. But I don't know how often I'm gonna want to play a non-radiant, and that's kind of almost limiting. I don't know how to describe it. I'm just worried about this dynamic. But I think that dynamic's going to go out the window as soon as the Mistborn edition is added on, as soon as the future Elantris and Warbreaker edition and the World Hopper edition, all of these additions that come in, where this really does become the Cosmere RPG, and you can play campaigns on any planet you want, and you have the rules and the understanding of how things work with all these different potential world hoppers and all these magic systems, and you can really start to blend things together. Right now, I'm a little Roshar is such a specific location, and not only that, but it's a very specific time on Roshar that all the rules are geared towards right now. And so I think there's unless you're just fully throwing the cannon out the window, it's going to be a little difficult to run many different campaigns and keep it interesting, in my opinion. But I don't know, I haven't played it enough, but these are my worries about it. But it's definitely better than D&D.
Yeah,
good. Yes, down with D&D, down.
I have the same worry when it comes to the timeline of the books and the game. I had that same thought of you can have your games. They're gonna be, you can tell a lot of different stories, gonna be dependent on the GM running it, any other campaign books they put in. But you're at least with the rules. If you're going all Radiant stuff, you're kind of limited to. What is the timeline of book 1 to 5? Isn't that 4 or 5 years? It's not super long.
It's just a few years.
Yeah.
And really, this is starting what? Is it around book 2, book 3 that you're
it's
really
halfway.
getting?
It's just after book 2. Is
right. It's when the Everstorm.
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So even then, that's only 2 years at most.
There's definitely I can see GMs coming up with super cool ways of going around this, telling stories of Radiance and the other side, just kind of that just didn't get caught up in everything. Or even you could tell some cool stories, making up your own stuff about one of the desolations, any of those plots. But I think I completely agree that the strength of this game is going to come when everything else starts getting added. Because the coolest part that you can do here is run all right, let's do our Stormlight campaign, our Mistborn campaign. You go through all that, and then you can have one big world hopper game where you pick your favorite PC that you played, your favorite boy, and then you run them, get a party full of different magic users or not. That's going to be the part I just want to explore Scadrial, specifically Era 2 Scadrial, so bad.
I think that's one of the coolest things too, because the RPG doesn't even say level 20 and beyond are the space, you have to get to space age level playing. And that's a really good point there, Glue, is that you can build characters in a Mistborn game, you can build characters in a Stormlight game, and then if you want to play a World Hopper game, I didn't even think about that, bring your own characters back, cameo appearances. That's a really cool. You can have long-term investment from the games you're playing now. I never thought about it like that.
It's because World of Darkness is kind of similar in that all these games are big banner, and then they're you can do a lot of crossover work. This one is going to be more coherent because the struggle of World of Darkness is the lore of that game really does be wizards exist, mummies, vampires, they're all in the same world. And then you have a lot of logical through lines you kind of have to wiggle around because you're how is this still Secret World? There's so many things running around. But this is just going to be coherent. Which now I'm curious. Speaking of, with the idea of world hopping for all of you, is there a planet in particular you just are desperate to explore? You want to know, like, get all the juicy info on so you can play a game there.
Taldane.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I read the graphic novel, and it's I feel like the only good part about that graphic novel was the world building, the mysterious dark side, all the political sides of Lightside. Like, there's so much with the factions, and like I feel like that is such a great RPG world to play in, because they're not constantly at war, at least yet, and there's still a lot of political tension and a lot of opportunity for, like, gangs to be fighting and things. Taldane 100% would be mine.
I think I'm gonna go with Nalthis. First of all, that is, I think, my favorite planet. It's my favorite magic system, at least, the Warbreaker magic system. But we know almost nothing about Nalthis. We know about, really, we've been restricted to 2 kingdoms and have had some stories about external kingdoms and things like that. Like, even if we look at Cell, like, we're aware of the Rose Empire. Aerolon is huge. We know about Fjordell. Like, we know about, like, the main players there. That's not true for Nalthis. We were isolated basically just to 2 relatively small kingdoms. So I'm really excited for that expansion, and if he ever writes the sequels in the future, to get to learn a bit more about Endowment's planet.
Yeah, because I think that's... Yeah, I'm thinking back to Warbreaker. Yeah, there's not a lot you get there. I mean, I think it doesn't help with Endowment's just one of those shards that doesn't feel, like, super present in their story, in, like, the story that's set on. Kind of because Endowment's one of the shards. It's just like, here's your magic. Like, don't bother me. They have their hidden bits all around, of course. But it's like, it's them and Ambition, except for, like, later on. But just those kind of shards that they give people their power, and then they're like, all right, whatever. Man, the 2 places, because I'm trying to narrow down. There are 2 spots in particular I'd love to do some world hopping stuff. One of them is First of the Sun, but, like, more as I've read Emberdark, I'm like, I think when you get to as it starts developing, I stop wanting to explore it, only because, like, I would love to play a guy who's never been there, just immediately jumping into where the perpendicularity is into Pachi, and you're just like, how do I survive here? And then I'm trying to remember the name of the planet. It's the one from Shadows of Hell. Shadows of Silence. Yeah, Threnody. Like, I want the story of a explorer, someone just exploring the Cosmere, jumping into the worst possible environments for you and having to figure it out.
That's the story of Nomad. Yeah. Nomad was there, and he's been everywhere. He literally went to hell on Threnody.
It's like, that's the part that sounds so sick, is playing characters learning about all this. I think it's such a great method to learn this super sick, like, universe. Because in our own game, we have it's pushed everyone to just start reading Stormlight. And then we have one player who's not much of a reader, and he's just like, I'll discover it blindly as we go. And I think it's this is the type of game where you can get sucked in really easily. I wouldn't be surprised if friends pull people into it, they go into it blind, and then walk away from a session being like, I think I should read these books. I think I want to figure this out too.
There's no shortage of lore in this series.
Yeah. I gotta say, it's the funnest experience to get to play in a game with a bunch of other people who are, like, in the midst of reading the book, so everything is still fresh. So they know all the little quirks, all the little things. We get to talk about Krem, and we get to talk about Chowda and all that kind of stuff, and just, like, nerd out in character and roleplay in character in the setting. It's so immersive in so many ways, and talking about everything, because, like, we're starting Stonewalkers, and it's just like a little bit after the fight at the tower on the plains, and there's the friction between, you know, Dalinar's troops and Sadius's troops and all that.
They're mad at each other?
Yeah.
I wonder why.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
You guys gotta read the books to find out. I also want to give a shout out to Doc's son, who hopped into the chat here, the lovely person who ran the game for us.
Did an incredible job. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, the bit I watched a chunk of it. Like I was looked like a sick game.
Oh, it was so much fun. Yeah. No, and Doc was a phenomenal GM.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It is cool playing in a game where it's just people can all get sucked in, because my joy of it is purely like, I'm going to play a man who lives on Roshar, and I'm going to do that for every other setting down the line. The big one I'm keeping in my head is no swearing. I don't swear. I say storming. I say creme. Once we get to Mistborn, I got you. I got you. Just start saying ruin and rust. Easy. That's my favorite Sanderson quirk. I love just making new swear words for each planet.
Curses of the Cosmere.
It's so fun.
And I think that's what's going to make this game really stand out in general, the Cosmere RPGs, because they're also going to come out with Plot Weaver, which is just the core system, which I'm very interested in as well. And I was watching your guys' first take video, and it struck me in a moment where you were talking about, and it was mentioned earlier as well, the Radiant, you know, steals your moment by speaking their next ideal after you do something really, really cool. Now, of course, that's not going to happen that often. I mean, they can only speak so many ideals, but right, if you have 3 other Radiants in the party, you know, it can be a lot. And that's something that I was super interested in. And I do think the heroic paths are really going to find a place in the system overall, because while the Radiant paths are interesting, the one bad thing about the Radiant paths are your most of your talent trees are the same as every other Radiant, except some of the surges are different, and you share a surge with 2 of those paths. Like the Spren Bond isn't a lot except for the combo ability, and so I definitely feel like the Radiants are going to feel the most kind of samey, except for the expression of their surges, where the heroic paths, like if you go duelist, you get to do interesting stuff with Flame Stance, with the intimidation part that it provides, or the fact that it gives you a huge benefit for getting an enemy out by themselves and not by any of your allies either. When you're dueling someone one-on-one, Flame Stance is super cool mechanically, because it shows you that like your character's a duelist. You don't want any help, and in fact you perform better when you don't have anyone assisting you. And the pursuit of shard plate and a shard blade, I mean, for a non-radiant character, I mean, a non-radiant character would probably even can realistically get shard plate before a radiant character really should. And so that is going to give them something very interesting and powerful that the Radiants aren't going to have. The whole journey. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Like, if you're playing a Radiant character, you can't touch shards until like you get yours. Your Spren will scream, or the Deadeye will scream at you. And
the Art of Fabrian is super cool, and they have their own kind of narrative elements when it comes to like, give me gems and new more formula to make new Fabrials to do all kinds of stuff. And I don't think they're ever really going to do it, but I would love to see an expansion on the Fabrial crafting even more than what we kind of saw in the book, because they have a lot of interesting things. There's a creme real that produces creme, which is super interesting. The fact that Hunter gets in the, I forget what subpath it is, but they get the animal bonds, and they get features for their animal bonds that help them in combat and in certain scenarios as well. It's kind of sad that the Politico is only the one of the leadership path is the one that gets the most like narrative kind of storytelling stuff, because they get stuff for like winning in social conflicts when you are trying to reduce an enemy's focus by succeeding on your checks and making good calls and everything like that. And what makes me like this system more is the plot die. Not because necessarily I think the plot die is really that interesting of an element. It is and it isn't. It can feel like pressure to be like, all right, here's the plot die. Come up with something interesting or give or take away a focus depending on what the role is. Like, some people don't want to be put on the spot when it comes to just like in the moment improv. For me, that's not a problem, but I can imagine for a lot of people that is very much a problem. But the thing that I like about it is when you apply it in different kinds of situations, because you're going to use it in combat a lot, and it's like, opportunity, I get to crit, or opportunity, the enemy is blown over by how powerful your blow is and is knocked prone, and all that kind of stuff. But then opportunities during social situations, like, how does that work? And I think that's a very interesting way you can introduce some very unique types of gameplay that you can't get in other games because they don't have systems to interact with in those ways. A lot of it is a binary of, all right, convince the Duke to provide aid for your venture, right? So what do? You make a skill check. Maybe you make several skill checks and need so many successes. That's about all it is. But in this system, they have actual mechanics that are like, all right, you're going to make your plea, and if they're going to, if you roll well, they're going to have to spend focus to ignore or to like push past that. And then they can use the recover action to recover that in the middle of a conversation, which can be interpreted differently than it would in a combat situation. In a combat, you get your second win, but in a social situation, you could be like, the Duke sits there thinking for a moment and speaks to, their aide to maybe reinforce some of their points or whatever, get the focus points back. And they can get they can also reduce your focus points and make you kind of give up the chase in a way, which is something that doesn't exist in other tabletop games. Usually when you fail a check, that's it, right? It's just like, all right, you didn't succeed. And it's like, I didn't roll good enough on the dice. But now we have a system that's like, no, he talked you down and you can't provide counterpoints. You tried your best. You had an actual social combat that has both give and take. It wasn't just I rolled good or I didn't roll good or I use some kind of cheesy spell to do super good in a conversation like you can in D&D all the time. It's very much like an actual combat situation just in a social setting. And it sounds all very interesting, and honestly, for the other books, as much as I do want to see the cool powers in each of the worlds, I'm also interested in the heroic paths they're going to come out with, because they showed some of them for like Mistborn, and one of them is Gunner, and it's just like, you're really good with a gun, and I'm just like, there's so many people who are going to just want that. They're just going to want that in their kit, So I'm
doing my best to not just recreate Waxilium in my game.
Good luck.
I'm going the opposite. I'm gonna go iron. I want to go iron, pewter, melee. I want to see if I can do a funny combo of like, let me fit some metal on you real quick. All right, pull you into a clothesline. Here we go. Just big old bruiser.
Yep.
So some of the people in the comments have been mentioning that they have an overall concern that like they have faith that the system is good and that people are going to like it and everything, but they feel like it's going to be not very commonly mentioned. It's going to fall off as soon as this hype period ends, and we're already like not getting the most traction because Daggerheart released a few months ago. So what would you say specifically? I know you guys have your preference, but still, like, knowing the Cosmere, knowing everything that we know is about to be coming out in the next couple years, what would you say to people to like motivate them to keep an eye on the Cosmere system?
Yeah, you're assuming that Brandon isn't going to be dropping a new book like every 3 months for this system, so keep that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, the Secret Projects RPG edition. Could you imagine?
Oh, right, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't either. And I think that's the reality is, I mean, we started a Cosmere YouTube channel not just because we love the Cosmere, we also love the direction, right? Like, it's that we're on the journey right now. We don't know what the end is, but like, the Brandon Sanderson, more than most, is so good about his planning and his preparation, his careful steps, and having the end of the Cosmere written before he even starts, and this series has to. I think the Cosmere RPG is going to be a lot that way too, where like, yeah, I think the Stormlight part of the RPG is extremely captivating. I'm going to find myself having trouble playing any other RPG besides this for the next few years, personally. Because, like you said, there's just so much to uncover. The mechanics are phenomenal, and they're so in depth, and they're so, I don't know, there's something so drawing about it outside of even just being in my favorite fantasy world. But also, I think that's the thing, is it's so, the idea of finishing up your Stormlight campaign and then there being another whole new system released in the Mistborn side of things, like. And the fact that you can, eventually be a shard bearer who's got the gunner abilities from Mistborn and using your shard gun on First of the Sun. I just, that's the thing I love about the Cosmere in general, is the interconnectedness, the interplay. And so I want to get good at the Stormlight RPG. I want to learn all the rules as soon as possible so that I can be ready for how crazy cool things are going to get in the future. And I know, people who aren't as invested in the Cosmere might not understand that. So get invested in the Cosmere.
Yeah,
that's why aren't you? But
what are you doing?
That's my take personally.
Yeah, and I think that's also one of the things that this game has going for it, is that the source material is like only getting bigger and the fan base is only growing faster and faster. And honestly, Mistborn's not coming out that far into the future. Like, I think Stormlight hype it's going to wane, and then it's going to stay pretty stable, and by the time we're like ready for the next game, Mistborn's going to drop.
Yep.
And then we're going to have another expansion, and then we're going to have another expansion, and then who knows how many more expansions after that. Like, we're looking at least a decade straight of content for the Cosmere RPG, and
there's the clip.
Once that's all released, I mean, like Kevin said, the interconnectedness, your options are unlimited. So yeah, I don't see how the momentum slows.
Yeah, I honestly, that is a worrying in a good way. And also, like, just so envious of that position where you're like, all right, we've done our long year and a half Stormlight game. Time to play something different. Oh, Mistborn released? I guess we do that. And, like, essentially being stuck in a Cosmere loop for a long time game-wise. That sounds amazing. I would happily be in that loop. Because it's gonna be that thing. Every new book, if you're like a fan of this game, you're gonna be pointing at it and being like, oh, maybe I can get that. Maybe that's a new toy I can use in my game. And it's with how interconnected everything is. And once things like get going and like we get more rules for stuff, it'd be a genuinely cool game to have, like, all right, make a good pitch why I should let you play a secret Scadrian hanging out in Roshar, or like something like that, like hiding what magic system you actually use because you're just doing some other thing, some other larger plot that's going on. It's going to reward people for just being super knowledgeable and invested.
And something that I think is very good that they started off with was the Stonewalkers campaign is not a multi-year campaign book. It starts at level 1 and it ends at level 7. So not too long not too long in a TTRPG sense, but that's definitely like half a year or more for a lot of tables. I feel like from my overall experience in perusal, it feels like each individual chapter is going to take between a month and 2 months to finish, give or take. So if all things go according to plan, it might take a year, but it might take less. It really depends, because some of the chapters can be a little shorter or longer. Like the second chapter is kind of sandboxy, and the players can, in theory, in the first session, get through the entire chapter if they do a lot of things just correctly. It's unlikely, but they definitely could, and even more likely by the second session. And that's the great thing about, I think, the overall design is a 7th level character. They're getting their stride. They're getting into it, right? And so by the time that many people, because many people aren't starting day one, right? They might be starting in a month, 2 months, depending on when their current games are going or whatever. So by the time many people are even getting done with like Stonewalkers, Mistborn will probably be out or very close to coming out. And then they can be like, here we go. So I hope they do a few more adventure paths, but I hope specifically they do a very smart thing of linking some adventure paths to just conveniently be like, here's this Mistborn one that starts at level 7 and goes to level 14 or something like that. And just make it where you can unintentionally just go from one to the other with all kinds of interesting things, especially because by the end of Stonewalkers, I don't know if I'm pretty sure you probably have looked at it, but there's some really, really cool stuff at the end of Stonewalkers, especially with a herald that we barely knew anything about beforehand. And I'm trying not to spoil my player who's here currently.
I am so blind about what's in it. I'm experiencing this. I begged Cam that we have to do this because I need to know what happens in this because it's canon. Like, I need to know the information that's in there.
And that's a cool thing too.
Don't watch our video in 2 weeks, by the way, because
I will not.
We are fully spoiling Stonewalkers. Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
The ones I've watched and like I am watching were the because I saw the within the past week are the hidden details of the like the lore drops in the world guide, and because that's the thing I need to get pointed out. Just because I don't own the world guide yet, I will eventually.
Right.
That was the first thing of like, all right, have they just hidden a bunch of weird stuff in here? Yeah, they have. There's some info on shards, which would be the first thing I look at.
Yeah, and there's definitely more that we missed. So yeah, the book is dense, and we didn't catch everything.
It's when a book's that dense and the lore is that detailed, where it's been the fun. I love like researching lore for stuff, especially for videos, and just pouring through, being like, oh wait a sec, does this work like this? This might be a sick thing I found. Wait a second, let me words of Brandon this real quick. Let me see what he said.
Yeah.
I've had the Coppermind open for like a couple weeks now as I've worked on this script, just making sure I need to get everything right. Is there any details I can toss in that aren't book spoilers? I love how dense it is, and it is a lot to dig through. I think missing information it's like it's gonna happen, and then that just means you got later videos.
Yeah. Also, I gotta really appreciate the Foundry team for putting all the tables in one convenient place where you can find them. Like,
it's so helpful.
Saying all the rhythms, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good, and it's all over the place too. I've been so happy, and not just because there's a Foundry person here, but I've been so happy running the Foundry system. And like, we've had some little complaints here and there, but it's very obvious that they very much cared about the game, and that's kind of something that I think is going to really carry the Cosmere. I think the Cosmere RPG is going to be a sleeper, right? It's going to be a game that like some people are going to take notice of because Cosmere heads and all that kind of stuff, but the TTRPG scene in general is probably going to mostly ignore until like a few years down the road when someone stumbles across it and they're like, what the heck? This game's amazing. There's so much content and all this stuff seems really well done. Like the quality of all the Stormlight books so far, all the art, the setup, the world guide.
The art itself is just hundreds of unique pieces of professional, incredibly beautiful art.
And just like the adventure path, like Stonewalkers is probably the first adventure path that I've seen that of its kind of type, because to be fair, Stonewalkers, while not being like a full tour of Roshar, it definitely takes you a lot of different kinds of places, and you kind of hit some very key locations to the story in some of them. but it makes me really invested in the idea behind it, because it goes into some of the group, I can't say his stuff because of player, it goes into some of the groups in the setting that we haven't heard a lot about, especially those from Shinobar. And it definitely goes into a very interesting idea of, like, it feels like when you're reading Stormlight that the Radiants and everything are coming out with Shallan and with Kaladin and all them, but in actuality there's been some Radiant stuff going on in other places in the world. It's mostly, like, funny enough, the relevant Radiants are the Radiants who are closest to Dalinar pretty much throughout the story narrative, at least at some point during the journey. Like, even Lift goes and has moments with Dalinar at some point, and, like, he brings everyone together. I wonder why. And so you could definitely have characters, and I mean, like, there's not even mention of, like, the high sea stuff that goes on in the setting that we got a little bit in Dawnshard, and the Sleepless and all that kind of stuff that have things going on. And there, I don't know if I want to hit it quite yet, but I do want to do some Wind and Truth spoilers, because I'm very curious on y'all's opinions post Wind and Truth, what you think, what the game might look like or might not look like. So warning to the audience now, if you are interested in reading the books, this is one of the few series that I'm like, please don't spoil yourself. It's so much better if you don't.
It's the best, like, go into it blind series, because, like, a lot of the plot is developing your understanding of the world alongside characters. It's like, it's tied in with the story. So yeah, if you're at all interested, tab out, go read the book, come back for the last hour.
Yeah, the video will be here on the channel, but I definitely am interested in that, because I, like many people, did not like how Wind and Truth ended, for reasons which we'll get into in a I want to give a few minutes for people to like hop out before we do that.
Sure.
But the lore in this game is probably some of the best lore of a TTRPG I have seen. There's a few others I think might be a bit stronger because they were a lore designed around the TTRPG rather than in reverse. But I mean, like, the lore of Faerun in D&D is so all over the place and is so concentrated on, like, one coast of a continent, and you have to read books that are like 30 years old in order to, like, understand a lot of the lore. But now most of, like, the D&D lore stuff is being told through the games that come out, the variety of games like Neverwinter and all those kind of games. And Pathfinder, while it definitely does have some really good, like, adventure paths and everything like that, and they really do care about the setting overall, it feels very much like a theme park setting where there's the people who do this over here and the people who do this, and there's the Vikings, and then there's the crazy hell knights, and then all this kind of stuff. But the Cosmere stuff being designed on a professional writer who's gotten really good at world building everything up until this point. Like, the very first session of Stonewalkers has been probably the most immersed I've been in a TTRPG for a while, because we're all nerds and we all love the setting and all the stuff, and everyone's just enjoying just getting to roleplay as a character in the setting. Is there, like, a world you would want to most be in, not necessarily experience? Like, personally, one of the worlds you want to just have a personal experience in the most?
Oh yeah, I want to go to Nalthis, Hallandren, and live my life on the coast, eating fruits and seeing pretty colors and all that stuff. That's my favorite city in the Cosmere. I have a lot of favorites related to the book Warbreaker.
You just want to look at Blushweaver, don't you?
I wasn't gonna say it, but it may have been implied. But no, I mean all of them. All of the returned are just
Lightsong too.
absolute. Yes, they're all just absolutely gorgeous Greek gods. But no, like it's basically it's just a tropical paradise, and that's the place that I would go to retire. So I would love to see Hallandren.
I feel like Scadrial would be so cool era 2, like living in Elendel with the whole revolution. I know like it actually realistically wouldn't, but I would be so like just to like experience what it's like, you know. I don't know. I love that idea, that era, you know. Guns are a new technology and buildings are getting bigger, and I don't know. It feels cool.
I feel that because I'm just outside of Cosmere. I'm a Grimdark fan. Like that's my favorite tone for stuff. I really enjoy it. I enjoy the amounts of humanity you can get out of the most bleak situations and storylines. And so I'm thinking about all my favorite locations. I'm like, I wouldn't want to live there. I really wouldn't want to be there. Like Scadrial would also be my answer. Hopefully just for a tourism visit. Because like I wouldn't want to work there. Like either era. Either era is pretty bad. One's worse.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little worse, but like, because right in the reread I'm on, then Emberdark came out, I'm on book 2, where specifically the workers' revolt is going on, and I'm hearing the working conditions, and I'm like, ugh, that would suck. Like, I'm usually listening to that while working, so it's the like, oh, thank God I don't have that job.
Right.
But like, it'd be so sick just going around, having to repair my my fence because Allomancers keep jumping off of it. Just all that. I love the little ads in the broadsheets of like, rogue Allomancers keep breaking your stuff. Like, hire us, we'll fix it for you.
Yeah, I don't know, guys. It sounds like a pain to live on Scadrial in either era.
Like,
fun to visit, like you said, but I wouldn't want to stay very long.
I do think Nalthus is the right answer. Like, it's just, it has like the less strife in a lot of situations. As long as you go before or after, you know, the storyline happens, I think you're pretty set.
But anywhere you go, there's going to be wars and conflict.
Yeah.
I was about to say, do you really want to just sit around? Like everyone always says they want to sit on the beach and eat the grapes and see the blush weavers, but I feel like it gets pretty old pretty quick. You know what doesn't get old? Industry.
Unionizing. 10-hour shifts.
Amen.
Shift, yeah.
The struggle is worth the reward, yeah.
If I had a button in front of me that was just like a giant panel of all the places in the Cosmere I could I could visit, I would press the Scadrial button first. I might regret it a week later and be like, I should have picked Nalthus. I should have picked this. But like, I didn't pick Hell. I didn't pick all those. There's worse places I could have been. So
I think Cell would be fine.
Yeah. It'd be pretty chill as long as you're because you're not from there, so you don't have the scary worry of becoming a zombie person.
Right.
Like,
and
so
like with all of this, it depends on location, depends on your status with the people and all of that stuff. But if you were on Cell and you were living either in or near the city of Elantris, that would be fun. Or Teode, that could be cool. Even living in Fjordell, I mean, we don't hear much about how the people are treated, but can't imagine it's horrible. But it seems relatively stable, except for the massive war happening, at least during the time.
I was about to counter that, because I'm pretty sure Cell is the one place Brandon's actively confirmed is going to be entirely conquered in the next.
Well, conquered
book, right?
doesn't mean currently in conflict, right? Like most of Cell is fine.
Sure, I guess that's a perspective.
It's like, if I am in the middle of like the governing power, like just kind of doing menial labor, like I'll take that. If I'm in a position where I could get drafted to the front lines, I'm gonna be a little upset. But because that's the threat there.
You want to be on the side of the dictator, not the side of the resistance, right?
Yeah, like if I'm just
you're the
First
Order, not the resistance. You're the stormtrooper, not the rebellion. Yeah, I like that.
Gonna be tossed into it. Like, yeah, you gotta pick the option where you're probably not gonna get killed horribly.
Just don't go on any big spaceships, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
No one chose Canticle?
Yep, correct.
Also want to give shout out to the Flying Pig, the individual who got us
Yay.
all together for the one shot that we all did.
Heyo.
And to be fair, I'm the least read of everyone here of the Cosmere books. I'm working on it. You know, being a dad. But honestly, as much as I don't like a lot of Roshar living condition wise, maybe there's some really nice places in Roshar. The reason why I would choose like Roshar, I think Spren are fascinating. I think studying Spren would be really interesting, and Fabrials as like a connection to that, because of what I've read so far, like Roshar's the one that just like during the high storms, there's just large beings walking across the landscape that no one sees because, you know, they'd probably be killed by the storm itself. It's such a whimsically fantastical place that is all blasted lands, or at least mostly blasted lands, except for Shinovar. And it would be so endlessly fascinating to just research things, look into things, especially with how Spren work. They're kind of quasi-quantum states that they are in, and it seems like a world that would be, if Roshar got to like a more, you know, relatively modern age, right? What would it look like? How would their computers run? Like, it's got to be a lot through like Spren, right? And I just feel like that would be the most interesting technology out there in the setting if it ever got to that point, which, you know, who knows. But speaking about points in Roshar's future, I've given my warning for spoilers. Let's talk post Wind and Truth.
Yes.
So, end of Wind and Truth. Roshar's changed forever. No more. Or now it's all Everstorm, except for the places not conquered by Retribution.
No more Stormlight.
No more Stormlight, or at least not to those who aren't, you know, willing to bend over backwards for Retribution. Do you think they would ever even come out with a TTRPG during that time?
So I think the only reason it hasn't yet is because Brandon wants to keep a lot of it a secret. I can almost guarantee we're going to get another Stormlight expansion for the Voidlight archive. So he has dubbed the second half of Stormlight.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just for like the little bit we've seen so far, because it doesn't seem like mechanically they operate crazy different. It's a different form of investiture they're taking. I'm still not like fully through Isles of the Underdark, so I'll probably see more and get more answers, hopefully. But like, I imagine things will still work the same magic-wise. It's just obviously you're calling to a different person, and there's a lot of like, ooh, the ending is that was a sad one, though, because I know it's controversial. I feel like I've liked Wind and Truth more and more. I've like digested it afterwards. I'm like more and more. I'm like, okay, I like this path, as I've tried to think of different ways it could have ended.
Yeah, I'd be pretty surprised if we didn't get something, but I kind of like what you're saying, Zach. Though I would be surprised if we got post Wind and Truth before we get Stormlight 6, because I don't think Roshar's changing much between now and Stormlight 6. I think we're gonna play in that world, right? The whatever characters, you know, if Radar and Redlane are truly this huge important thing, we're gonna be playing with them and the heralds that they are now, and so I'd be surprised if we got that expansion before Stormlight 6, because that feels like he would be, like you're saying, Zach, he'd be so restricted in what he wants to reveal.
Yeah.
So I would argue we probably won't get to play in the Voidlight Roshar till a few books into era 2 of Stormlight, or part 2 of Voidlight, you know.
In context for that, that's looking around 7 years from now when we are going to get Stormlight 6.
Yeah.
But if you look at the release path they've released, because, you know, they've announced Mistborn, they've announced Elantris, they've announced the World Hopper, and so I would I would think that that's about on par to do those 3 and then
Yep.
start Stormlight Part 2, which is what people I think are going to really want to play once we get those books.
Yep.
And it is interesting because someone did mention it. The Unoathed being a new kind of hybrid path between Radiant and non-Radiant path. Because you have to do something to become Unoathed, right? But at the same time, the whole point is not making those story moments to like speak the words of an oath. So I'm interested to see how that's going to be expressed as well. And as well, so I think sadly we will never really get to see a very different Roshar like we will for a lot of other of the planets in the setting, just because of the time bubble now, especially, which is slowing things down on Roshar. So Roshar is kind of just is set to stay much the same for pretty much the rest of the books, it feels like, unless Brandon is insane and decides he wants to do even more, which who knows. But it would be kind of cool to see some time progression on Roshar as well. And
I'm sorry, I will say I think there's going to be a pretty rapid progression that we see as Retribution is gearing up to go to war with the rest of the Cosmere. Nothing produces technological improvements like war does. And especially with a god who has the knowledge of a lot of these systems, I do think we're at least going to see like early technological revolution, if not like the middle of it by the Stormlight era too.
And to be fair, like Fabrials, Brandon has gone through a lot of extensive world building around how Fabrials are built. Dawnshard especially, and going into Oathbringer as well. Like we learned a lot about, and Rhythms of War actually, we learned a lot about Fabrial sciences. And so I would also be very surprised if they don't do much more on that end. For me, it's more just like fantasizing about a modern Roshar and what that would look like, especially because the ecosystem of Roshar is going to need to change or something, because the entire planet has been more or less developed on the High Storm, which is now no longer a thing. Krem no longer falls from the sky, which is kind of like a fundamental part of how the entire world works at this point, as many of the plants require Krem in order to survive. And much of like how buildings are made, and who knows how it's even going to affect Shinovar with the Everstorm overhead. It's for a place that's much more like Earth, you know, where you got plants that need sunlight. Like I think it's fascinating. I think it's really interesting. The only reason why I didn't like Wind and Truth was mostly just because I love the ecosystem that the Windstorm or the High Storm creates. I think it's fascinating. I think Brandon did an amazing job making a world ruled by a storm, and how that ecology would work and how it overall develops and everything. And now that's just gone. It doesn't work the same anymore. Or maybe Retribution will have to like kickstart up, you know, the Everstorm and make it do similar things so the planet's ecosystems don't just fall apart, if they even care that much about those ecosystems. And I do think for Voidlight, it's going to be a lot more world hoppy. I think we're going to have a lot more interconnection between characters kind of jumping in and out of Roshar. But that's going to be quite dangerous, because people can't really do extensive work in Roshar without a lot of time passing outside of Roshar. And so like I think it's overall super fascinating, and I really do hope we get like I won't even call it like an expansion, honestly, because I think the game's just going to be so different that a lot of the stuff established at this point are not going to be as relevant moving on. So it'll just be another game in the same setting, which is kind of interesting. But it makes sense if you know what's going on. What are, game-wise or out of game-wise, what are some of the biggest things with the end of Wind and Truth that you think is going to affect like other things, like other planets, the whole kit and caboodle? I know we already talked about Retribution's war, which is going to be, you know, massive. But what else do you think that this is going to change for people?
Well, I think a big thing is cultivation went somewhere. So we're going to have a shard theoretically investing some other place. That's going to be a big change. Also, some big things happened resulting from that on Scadrial, I think, around Arrow 2 time, thanks to Odium's Retribution's little meddling. The entire events of Arrow 2 are we now know a result of, you know, Retribution's plan to go to war, right? And so Autonomy playing around their Trell taking a hold on the planet.
I think Autonomy is going to be like such a big force going against like Retribution, because it seems like she's already really mobilizing. Like, all right, let's go, let's gear up.
Yeah, I don't know. I can totally see Autonomy being the big bad of the Cosmere, and I think that could totally be the thing. I could also see her just being chill until somebody messes with her, and then overwhelming force. I don't know, but yeah.
So thinking about Autonomy, I think so first of all, Autonomy is obsessed with creating avatars, and letting them do their own thing on all these different planets. I can see the possibility of some factions of Autonomy working against other factions of Autonomy. It's kind of core to the shard itself. The shard is a paradox of intent. And so you're going to have the really militant, aggressive types, and we don't exactly know the full scope of why Trell was, or why Autonomy was doing what Autonomy was doing on Scadrial, but it's clearly in relationship to what happened on Roshar. It was the perfect time to mobilize. But Autonomy is everywhere. Autonomy, it might be on Cell. That's a big might. Autonomy is an avatar of Autonomy is clearly present in the future. Autonomy is going to play a big role in this space age era of the Cosmere. She's also my favorite shard at this point. I just find Autonomy extraordinarily fascinating, in that you have some very aggressive aspects. You have other avatars that are kind of more chill, just hanging out. And there are avatars we haven't seen yet who may be opposing those other aspects of Autonomy that we've already seen.
Here's looking for Whimsy. I
seriously.
want him to be my favorite. Hopefully, whenever we get Whimsy.
We've got nothing on Whimsy. We don't even know the name of the vessel of Whimsy. We don't know where they are or anything.
And there's a reason for that. That's the thing people need to realize. The stuff we don't know isn't an accident. It's not so Brandon can write a fun story later on. There's a reason that he has not revealed that name. And I think Whimsy is going to be the freaking worst shard by a long shot. I think the name 100%. Is such a misnomer. I think it's such a fake out. Once we meet Whimsy, it's going to be like horrible. Yeah, but that's
I'm putting my eggs in the Mercy basket. I think Mercy is going to be a huge problem.
I am a big fan. I'm going to be a big fan of Whimsy, specifically for that reason. That reason of like, Whimsy is not going to be chill. I don't think they're going to go fully like this, but I think it'd be so sick if it's playing into that idea of like a god's idea of fun, and that could be a twisted person. I'm not saying we're going to get the Joker as a shard, but like, I can see them being horrible to live on, because I can picture a shard with the capability of altering a planet, just being like, I'm bored of this environment. Let me sweep the table real quick, just for the hell of it. that's a horrifying concept. I'm also, here's me looking, I need to make sure my boy Harmony is doing something. I need him to I don't want to know what he's doing. I love Harmony. He's a lot. I like Mistborn too much to like not like Harmony, not have him in my top. He's gonna be going through it, I imagine, in the next few years.
That's fair. And I am not convinced that Harmony's the good guy.
No, I don't think so either.
Or that Harmony's actually his name.
I'm not even convinced that Harmony is Harmony.
There's a Lightcaller video about that, just saying.
I'll watch it. I'll watch it and keep an eye out in my Mistborn Era 2 reread. So that's just,
yes.
I like the vessel of Harmony a lot. Just
certainly
my boy. And I can at the very least, it's why I'm so interested in Era 3. Like I'm really curious how that's going to progress.
Mm-hmm.
And it already seems like Scadrial in the future of the Cosmere is going really aggressive, like
specifically the Malwish. The Malwish are
imperialists
going hard.
Super hard.
Yeah.
That I'm looking forward to. We're gonna see a nice civil war take place, or a Cold War, I should say, in Era 3. And if it, without spoiling other things, we're clearly the tensions have not been resolved in the future.
No.
I'm so curious as to what is happening on Scadrial during that time, because you have the main players, you have the Basin, you have the Southern Scadrians who have united against the Basin, and you have the Ghost Bloods, which is an independent organization who is far more informed about everything that's going on than either of those factions. But that doesn't remain that way for long, and I'm very curious to see how that all plays out.
I watch your Amber Dark video as well, even though I'm far behind on the books. I'm kind of so unread. I can't be spoiled because you just say names. I'm just like, those sound like cool people.
Right.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about world hopping, especially when it comes to the surges and how that's going to work, because in part, cultivation helped with the establishing of the controlled surges for the Radiants. So that means there's another planet out there that is going to be probably more hospitable to Radiants than some of the other ones. We know that there's some stuff going on, but it's going to make the world hopping stuff seem more interesting, and I'm very... What do we know what Brandon's working on next right now?
Right now he's Mistborn, but he's also going to be releasing the prose version of White Sand next. That's the next novel release.
That's already written, right? So that's going to be next.
So. Yeah.
I'm so excited for that because like Taldane has a lot of cool things, but man, is that graphic novel rough.
It's rough.
It's like a cool attempt for I think it was his first comic book thing like ever.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
there's a lot of dope parts of it.
Yeah, and he didn't even mostly write it from under. Well, he wrote the story, but I think most of it was adapted by another group.
It was converted into comic book format by other people, so a lot of the dialogue isn't really Brandon's writing.
Right.
It feels like that.
Yes, it does.
The other interesting thing to note, as far as recent releases, is we're still supposed to get Horneater before Mistborn Era 3, which is a Cosmere novelette or novella, like Dawn Chart, which was a really impactful Cosmere novella or Stormlight novella, right? So this could be a huge piece of the puzzle, right?
And the Horneater Peaks is huge. I mean,
it is,
especially during the time of Wind and Truth, which we only got to see one time during the book, and that was that. Were they there when they had the conversation between Elle and...
They only talked about it.
They talked about it, right?
Dagon Arthas go in and send in the troops.
Because that was going to be the source for one army, and Dagon Arthas was going to use the Well of Control as the source to get them there.
To shoot it to, yeah.
But either way, like Odium had an army there. So there is stuff going on there. That's the place where Cultivation's Perpendicularity is. Also the place where all the World Hoppers used to get on and off of Roshar. So if anyone was deciding, oh, it's time for me to get off of Roshar right now, that's where they were headed. Or if anyone was like, this is the perfect time for me to establish myself on Roshar now, that is where they headed. So there's a ton of opportunity for more context with the Horn-Eater Peaks in the Horn-Eater novella.
Fact check. That's where all of the World Hoppers that do sleep entered Roshar. The ones who are sleepless entered through the Well of Power. So,
True, that's
or the
true.
Well of
Fair.
Control. Yeah.
Yeah, that honestly, that I didn't even think about that for the Horn-Eater book. The only bit I thought about when I heard was like, rock, and then I stopped thinking about it any further implication.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, if it's anything like the others, it's going to have some larger context building things. Yeah, I'm so pumped for all of those because it's so much fun to have like a series that the moment a new thing drops, you're like, oh, I have expanded context for everything else I've read. It just expands out rapidly. If they're going to play into some World Hoppery stuff for Horn-Eater, that makes a lot of sense. I think that'd be a really fun thing to come in if there's just like a couple of weirdos with some maybe slightly different abilities who are like, I need to get out of here. Get out of my way, Odium.
Like Grump, Thinker, and Blunt.
Yeah.
Oh, I will clarify. There was a completely different perpendicularity that some people got very lucky to travel through if they were on the right side of Roshar at the right time.
Yep. Also, that actually just reminded me as well. Spren can now leave Roshar. They're no longer down, and so I'm very curious how that's going to overall interact with some of the other worlds, because Spren, from my knowledge, and to be fair, I'm a bit of a layman when it comes to this, are like a fraction of like an old creation of Adonalsium, yes.
Yep.
And so Spren do have some level of relative power in their very being, and the ability to affect that, because from I haven't read many of the books or whatever, but we haven't really seen anything like the Spren besides maybe the Aeons on other planets.
The Seons, yeah.
The Seons, yeah.
Eons and Skays on Cell are very similar.
Oh, are they?
They're specifically not to get all nerdy, but type 1 invested entities.
Yes.
Type 1 invested entities, which is essentially raw investiture that has gained sapience. And that does happen elsewhere in the Cosmere. But yes, the Spren have been kind of trapped on Roshar due to the circumstances. And they use that Nahel bond with other people to experience the physical world to help ground them and give them more of their physical selves and memories within the physical realm. So it's going to be very fascinating seeing them like as actual players in the Cosmere now, not just limited to being the sidekicks for more important people, right? Like they're becoming adults as a species now, which is very cool.
Now, help me remember real quick, because we see a lot of the true Spren already in different situations in some of the more later works, right?
Yes.
Do we see the original Spren though? Because the true Spren are the one that Cultivation and Honor made themselves.
Right.
Do we see like Anger Spren? Are they leaving Roshar? Are they able to leave Roshar?
They're more like animals.
Right.
Because like, how often do you see like an axe hound on another planet, right? Like you need some level of intelligence to world hop. Like it's not impossible, right? We could see an axe hound in Scadrial at some point, but that's probably a very rare sighting, and somebody else probably facilitated that happening. And I'm assuming the same would happen to the Lesser Spren.
I was going to say, it would probably be the Iriali who made that happen.
Knowing
what we
just
know,
brought some
right?
Spren with them.
Yeah. And also, there's a lot about Spren we don't know still. There are some like hinted at Spren that we didn't get any kind of like in-depth knowledge on. Just like, hey, here's this weird Spren that's doing this thing in this town in like the first book, I think it was, during one of the preludes. No, not preludes, the intermissions.
Usakesh.
Yes, and so like Spren could have a lot more impact than even we think on Roshar. We just don't know really. And when you consider like Spren made of actual like elements like the night or the storm itself, like I'm very curious how that's going to interplay in more places now that this book has been, the Wind and Truth has been released and everything. Now Brandon can do a lot more without spoiling anything, because a lot of that's been kind of like revealed. And I don't know, it's fascinating, and it's interesting to think as well, since Wind and Truth, and thus since technically the Stormlight RPG, all further RPGs that are going to be coming out are going to be somewhat affected by those events to some degree. And I wonder if we're going to see in some of those RPGs the interconnections between those settings based on the timelines, and really how like that comes about. And we might even get some extra hints in some of those books as to what has been kind of going on behind the scenes, because one of the best things about Brandon Sanderson's work is he makes it really feel like the core adventure of each series is not the only thing going on its respective planet, or even on the Cosmere as a whole. Like, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of parts that aren't really spoken about too much, a lot of the settings that haven't even been like really fleshed out, but have so much breeding ground now for so many more interesting things moving forward. So we're getting the last like 20 minutes here, and then if anyone in the comments has any questions, we can definitely, if you have any questions for the Lightcallers specifically, you can ask them. But what crazy kooky thing would you be excited to see happen in the Cosmere, or be somewhat playable in any of the future Cosmere books or RPG books coming out?
Our Death Star.
Your Death Star.
Yeah, no, an invention-powered Death Star using every bit of Artifabrian technology and invested metal mind technology. That will happen. I almost guarantee it. Brandon Sanderson's too big of a nerd not to have a Death Star in his space age.
What was the theory? An invention-designed enclosure that traps Harmony and uses the shard of autonomy to perpetually split Harmony in half to cause insane investiture eruption and just direct it wherever you want.
I like that idea of we're not splitting the atom or the axis in this world. We're splitting a shard repeatedly.
I mean, look at what happened with Ambition on Threnody. It's pretty devastating. There are planets that did not survive that encounter. But no, yeah. As far as like being able to play it in the future, I feel like it would be so cool if we got to the point where a player character could take up a Shard of Adenalcian. Just in general.
Ugh.
Like it seems like that's just such a logical like level 50, you gain ruin. And it'd be hard to play in a player group. I don't know how they'd make it happen with 4 players. There's definitely a power creep with a shard versus a not shard, but
I mean, in D&D, players have become gods before, so I think Cosmere can do it too.
Exactly. And yeah, that's probably the end of the campaign. There's probably not a lot of mechanics there, but it would be cool to see an actual avenue of goals or requirements, Yeah, I don't know.
That would make sense. Like, if anything, having the rules of like, yeah, this is what you're capable of, and then really heavy, like, by the way, you're going to be using this for like the last hour of the campaign. That would be sick.
Yeah.
You're God now. What do you do?
Yeah, what like your surge with that power. This was brought up into chat, and I've been curious about it. 'Cause Tyler J. Nolan said, "I wonder if a spread could just randomly bond with someone on another world, suddenly like it happening in Era 3 Mistborn. Because if they're not like consigned to Roshar, I think that's a really cool thing to affect as it goes on. And I'm curious if there's going to be a thing about it, if that's possible." To my knowledge, there's nothing currently here that would say that's impossible, unless I'm missing something.
Yeah, even within the lore, like it's the Nahel bond can be looser than we've seen it on Roshar. And keep in mind, like this is relatively new, what we've been seeing with the current True Spren. We're only like a couple years into what this even is. Brandon has confirmed as an author that Spren could bond multiple people, and multiple people could bond the same Spren. And so I don't see location being a factor in this either as time goes on. So yeah, I could absolutely see a Spren going to Scadrial and bonding with a Twinborn, right? Like that is definitely something that's possible.
I think the question there too, though, is right. The thing we don't know about Era 3 Roshar, Era 3 of Mistborn Roshar is who accepts the words, right? Like do bonds look the same? Or are bonds all unkeyed now? Are Spren entirely autonomous with their bonds? You know, because with the unoathed thing now, there's a lot you can do without being bonded to. Are Spren Nahel bonds gonna be a thing with Retribution? I don't know. That's weird.
Was it Silfrena who accepted Kaladin's oath? Or
it was Silfrena who accepted.
Yeah.
As the wind, kind of, right?
Yeah.
Well, a splinter of Tanavast,
right,
or a splinter of honor, went into Sil.
That's right.
That's a good question, because I'm at like that immediately gets me thinking of like, if every Spren is acting autonomously, having the individual Spren as like an entity determining what they value, what kind of I guess story arc they want to shunt you through. And is this the end of like the orders as we know it? And now it's just like you have this broad lens of power, and now every bond is like a very personal thing, like what it is with the Lightweavers and Elsescholars.
Right.
Like, it's all to the individual.
Well, this is how it used to be. Before cultivation and honor were like, hey, surge binding is a bad idea when it's non-restricted. That's how it used to be. The true Spren started bonding with people, and an Ashen situation was close to happening again on Roshar, and they quickly put a stop to that. But with honor, not honor, and cultivation going anywhere but Roshar, what is this going to look like? Well, we already see. I don't know how far. Sorry, we do see in a future book, or hear about in the future book, of Skybreakers and nuking skies again, and that seems to be a thing that happens with unoathed bonds.
Right.
So I do think it's happening again. And this is, I'm sorry, we're going to bring it back to that previous conversation about technological differences. The Rosharans won't need to be caught up technologically with the rest of the Cosmere. Their powers itself is so overpowered, especially if their powers are unrestricted, that they don't need technology. They can just put on armor and fly through space with gravitation and nuke your planet. Like that's what they can do. And it's unbelievable.
Especially now that we see unkeyed investiture becoming such a common theme. That's kind of one of the subtle themes of Emberdark, is that investiture isn't shard specific as much right now. Like, we already saw the door in Era 2 of Mistborn, the purified or unkeyed door, and then there's talk of unkeyed light. And I think I think you're going to start seeing Mistborn again. I think you're going to start seeing Shardbearer, or not Shardbearers, unoathed, radiant kind of bond situations with Unkeyed Investiture, any of those are going to be. I mean, a Mistborn is near God with the level of power they have control over. Yeah.
Even then, allomancy is going to be more widespread now that hemalurgy is becoming public knowledge, and they figured out a way to not kill people with the hemalurgy. So people can get jewelry, and now they are allomancers. So that's pretty cool too.
Yeah. I mean, already from Emberdark, like the sheer aura difference of like the Scadrians coming down on a spaceship and doing all this long negotiations, and then a single Rosharan shows up. Like,
yep.
The sheer difference of that. I've been saying this for so long. Like, Rosharans don't know how easy they got it. They don't know how good they got it. I want to see a scene of a gold ferrochemist watching a Night Radiant heal and just get like so pissed.
Right.
You don't have to spend any time sick. You just breathe and boom, it's fixed.
Exactly.
I feel like Wayne specifically would be very he'd have some words about how unfair that is.
I couldn't agree more.
Also, I'm super interested because, like, I bring up the technology thing on Roshar, not because of, like, I think Roshar is in any danger of, technologically wise, but just because I think Fabrial Sciences in the future is going to be interesting. I want to see, like, not necessarily like Gundam mechs, but like war mech suits powered by Fabrials and all the crazy things that they can do, because like if they perfect the what's it called, it's when they quantumly link two two gems to move
right,
I forget what it's called.
That's the Risen tech.
It doesn't seem like it's that hard to just have these kind of mech suits that can just move insanely fast. And I mean, if they get powers even similar to some of the surges, just what they could do, and
combine it with the half shard technology that appears to be being developed in Carbranth, right?
Yeah.
In Yakaved. Yeah, that you could have basically a technologically created shard plate.
It's gonna be scary to see if it comes into the lengths and perfected pain reels that can be made. Like that's a very scary weapon that they could be wielding.
The other thing with Fabrials that's so interesting is we see a couple Fabrials mimicking the surges, right? We see Soulcasters, and there's even I forget what the other one is, but there's at least one other that mimics a surge. I guarantee you there's possible to mimic all of the surges with that technology. So it's going to be like the unkeyed metal mines, right? Or the hemalurgic spikes, where I think it'd be pretty easy for more and more people to be Yellignar level invested, or have a mech suit that can use gravitation instead of even needing to do things. Just have gravitation.
The elevator Fabrial from Rhythm of War that Kaladin had.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting era where I honestly, with that, I can see a possible storyline for the next part of Stormlight being like, what's the value of taking a real bond rather than artificially making one? If that's like a large theme of even just one of the books, because that's the first question. Like, why would I go through the whole like threat of bonding a spren? I could possibly lose it, or I could artificially do all this and have nothing tying me down. Like, I think it's a question a lot of people are going to make going forward. Same way with like, hey, let me buy some earrings. Boom! I now have like this allomancy power.
Yeah, I'm curious how it'll work, because I don't think the Unoathed get access to surges. Am I right on that?
Not that we've seen.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they just get the blade and
they get fully functioning shard blade and shard blade. Yeah,
exactly. But they don't get the surges to come along with that. And so what it seems like right now is Sylphrena is taking the place of the Stormfather in accepting oaths for the Radiants going forward. And so we're still going to have this duality of whether you're choosing to become a Radiant and get all these super cool powers, which could make you extremely overpowered. But it takes time and it takes effort. Or you can go the unoathed path. You don't get those cool powers, but you get a free relationship with a Spren that can be your blade, can be your shield, and can be your plate.
Yeah, just from like what we know so far with the unoathed, yeah, there's nothing showing like anything further of their like progression. Because yeah, like so far, just with the sources we have, it's just from like the storm, like largely Wind and Truth, and then there's a mention of the word unoathed in Sunlit Man. They call Nomad that.
Right, which we don't know if that was a reference to specifically the unoathed, or if like that just means you haven't formed a bond with this friend. Like, you're a Rosharan. Are you oathed?
Yeah.
Do we have to worry about you?
I like that idea of like meeting a Roshar, like they're moving into your planet, like they're immigrating there. And one of the questions, all right, are you oathed? Like, you make any oaths yet?
It's an important question.
Super important. If someone can utilize division and just destroy the sky, that's going to be a thing you immediately start limiting at the perpendicularity.
100%.
Also, I just really want to see Cosmere cybernetics. I just want to know what that's going to look like.
I think that's Era 3 Mistborn, right? Isn't it like cyberpunky?
Era 4, the possible Era 4 of Mistborn, maybe a short cyberpunk series. He may just do a book on it, but he does want to do cyberpunk Mistborn in the future. Era 3 is information age, so it's going to be like the 90s into the 2000s, like the early computers era, which I'm really looking forward to as well. But there will be a small cyberpunk story, unless, I mean, it's Brandon, it's going to turn into a full series. And then there's going to be the space age, the space opera, to close out the Cosmere.
Yeah.
I love this because like I'm a big sci-fi nerd. Like that's like my bread and butter. I like me fantasy, depends how well written it is, but one of my favorite niche forms of fantasy is fantasy that is stealth sci-fi. It's just like, it is all this technology and it's either being developed over time, it's magic being treated as a science, or magic that is actually science, it's just the method for it has been lost to time. And so now it's just basically the same thing. I adore these themes of like magic being developed as a science in this world, because yeah, of course it would be. They're going to utilize all this, and so the journey of learning how exactly every single every magic system with like Scadrial and Roshar are going to develop spacefaring technology is so sick. And now like getting a lens of the 2000s ish, like that era on Scadrial is gonna be so fun. I want to see what Metal Mind computer they're gonna make. That sounds like it'd be really fun.
Agreed.
There's so many interesting things because, like, right, there's not necessarily as big of a need for AI when you have things like Spren that exist that could potentially like be integrated in some way as like a supercomputer.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up. That's essentially how Seons work on Cell. Is you have two different Seons and they provide instantaneous communication between two endpoints. So that type of technology is already present on Cell. Like as far as like faster than light communication. We'll see how that progresses in the future, but then we're already aware, at least through Sunlit Man and Emberdark, there are awakened metal minds that can function as AIs, supposedly, combining that Nalthian magic system with the Ferricamy.
Copper mines are like, what is a copper mine but a hard drive? Like, in all
exactly.
honesty.
I will say we've only heard of steel Awakened
Yeah.
steel mines, which is interesting because steel stores speed. So it's interesting that that becomes a reporting mechanism on these spaceships. It's also the only metal that we know can be awakened. Nightblood is steel.
Yep.
And we only hear about awakened steel metal mines. So it's possible that only steel can be awakened. That hasn't been confirmed yet.
It's all fascinating. I want to say thank you to both of you for coming out and joining us. I know it's kind of late for some of you. Well, no, I guess not that late, but getting towards the evening because you're both East Coast, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So we really appreciate you coming out and joining us for our nerdy talk. It's been, personally, let me just say, it's been a blast. I love hearing all this nerd jargon, and the fact that I get it to a fair amount is pretty cool too. Like, it's nice to be in the know, even though I've only read the Stormlight books. Like, Brandon is just so good at overall establishing the world lore and everything like that. And then just some stuff I've heard here and there, and I'm working my way through Elantris right now. It's been fun, and this is, if anything is a reason why you think the Cosmere RPG should be good, is you get passionate people like the people in this call with just all this knowledge and all this, and we're all nerds, right? Most of us are, well, we all play tabletop. You guys have made me so interested in trying the Mistborn card building game. Like,
I gotta get my hands on it.
It's a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun.
I'll give y'all a really good game recommendation though. Try out Tyrants of the Underdark. It's a D&D based board game, but it's my favorite board game currently. It's super cool. It's a deck building game as well, but it's a deck building game that combines it combines spy work, and it combines moving armies at the same time that you're building your decks to do certain things. And there's multiple routes to victory, whether it's promoting all your people to your inner circle and having the most point score, or whether it's controlling the most parts of the map, or whether it's holding key locations for long enough on the map to generate enough points by the end of the game. It's really, really good. So definitely check out that one if you love board games at all. That's
awesome.
It's a hidden gem that I think not enough people talk about. It's really, really good.
It's like, as a deck builder, because I've played the Gambit, liking deck builders, it is probably the best mix of quickest to learn and most fun. Because like a lot of other deck builders, they get super crunchy, super crazy real fast, and you're like, I don't know what to do. But like each time you play Tyrants of the Underdark, you're like, oh, I understand this mechanic way more. I have now become a more bigger threat the next game we play. Like once you play like at least 2 or 3 games, I think you know enough to where like everybody at the table is at an equal playing field, and it's going to be cutthroat every single game. We like in our friend group, we got a big mix of skill when it comes to like tabletop and like board games. Tyrants is like the equalizer. No one is better at Tyrants than the other.
Well,
yeah, no one's better at
Kevin
this
is
board,
gonna
right?
Kevin is gonna find a way to be better than everyone at it, because he is a board game savant. So thank you for another game that I will have to play and get demolished in.
Yep, that's gonna happen.
Sounds like you, Kevin, would enjoy Scythe.
Oh, I do, and have all the expansions.
Yeah, Scythe's a good game.
Scythe is a great game to just stomp your friends who have no idea what's going on. Oh, I love it.
But it's fun. And the crazy thing about all this as well, Brandon Sanderson is also a huge TTRPG nerd. He had a lot of things he really wanted into the game. I feel, unfortunately, that maybe some of that idea was probably blunted. I mean, I trust Brotherwise to make a game that they feel like is going to sell. They're an overall pretty successful game company up until this point. So, you know, they're going to understand the markets more than I do. But I can't feel like the system was overall slightly inhibited by the fact that it has to be kind of like D&D 5e so that people can understand it and get it, you know. But, you know, I am I am one of the few who's decided to dedicate a lot of their lives to TTRPGs, and so like I don't care if the game is easy to understand or get or whatever. I'll put in the work. If the game's good, I'm going to enjoy it. So give me whatever. Don't pull your punches. I throw it at me, you know. I've played Shadowrun. I don't like it that much because it's a little too complicated and out there, but I played it and it was fun and it was interesting. So, you know, I like the Cosmere RPG. I think it's got a ton of potential, and just like we've all said, it's going to age like a fine wine. It's going to get better with every year that goes by. New stuff is coming out, and just imagine the homebrew. You know what, honestly, I've been thinking of my own homebrew with just the system in general, not even just Cosmere related. Like, I've been thinking, like, you know what, with this overall game design, I might be able to craft kind of like a different type of high fantasy, you know, islands in the sky kind of setting and game, and put in some of my favorite tropey, like, JRPG classes like Black Mage and Red Mage and Dragoon and all that kind of stuff. Because the game feels really good and modular in the way that it's designed. So I'm super excited for Plot Weaver to come out, and I'm glad that we get to talk with you guys, and that I get to have the pleasure of meeting y'all and having a chat because of, you know, the Cosmere, and because of the fun opportunities provided to us. Because honestly, like, most of the nerds that I interact with on a more daily basis that aren't my friends anyway, they are the most annoying people to talk about in the TTRPG space, because it's always about big numbers. This class is bad because it's 10% less optimal than this class, all this kind of stuff. That stuff pollutes the TTRPG space. And so having this nice infusion of Cosmere heads getting into it and really like bringing the lore, bringing the immersion. These are the people who are coming to the table with a full list of slurs for their given planet, and or who've memorized the rhythms of Roshar and are going to play the best darn singer you've ever seen. And I think tabletop needs more of that. I think we need more narrative injections into this overall war gamey style hobby for a lot of people. Like for me in my group, right? We're huge narrative fans. I love a good crunchy game, but I killed Alex's character brutally in one session, and then we had to take a month off because it was such a sudden and impactful character death that we were just like, we gotta take a break. I'm not emotionally ready to get back into this right away.
There's a bit of grieving time that was very necessary for that game. Like it was impactful.
And that's something you only get in tabletop. So I don't want people coming at me asking for board gaming stats and things that just like, how do I play the best dungeon crawler? I want something that makes me feel. I want to kill a character as the GM and feel bad about it. You know? So hopefully, you know, we'll get more chances to chat in the future. I love the content you guys have been making. I've been watching some of the videos. Granted, I still need to catch up on some of the stuff as well. But
I have the Harmony video in a tab currently. Like I'm going to like eat dinner right after this, like right after we wrap stream. I'm just gonna watch that during it because now I'm curious. I gotta know what's up with my boy. What did I possibly miss?
And we're curious to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I can message you guys about it.
Please do.
Yeah, and you know, please go check out the Lightcallers channel. We know that they're cool board game tabletop players like us, so you have every reason to go check out their content. I've watched some of their stuff. I've been like, oh hey, that's an interesting video. Let me click that as it comes up on my feed. So, you know, hopefully you guys get a lot more traction because you haven't been doing it for too long now, right? It's been
less than a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
what? 7 months? 9 months?
9 months, I think.
Yeah.
You guys, I think we'll probably start seeing a lot of traffic, and especially because something that I've noticed, Cosmere RPG content has been doing pretty well on my channel overall speaking.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, we've had some of our bigger hitters be the RPG videos this last couple weeks.
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting it, to be honest.
There's currently a fight in the comment section of my last video I made because I'm like, hey, tell me what order or what Radiant Path you want me to do next, and now everyone's just like, do Elsecaller, do Stoneward, and I think
Yes.
there's like a 3 or 4-way tie right now between the different Radiant orders, which is cool to see that so many people are just so like well distributed amongst the Radiant paths. I think that's very, very good, and it shows
people really identify with the Radiant orders too. Like it's a personality thing. Like it's basically a personality quiz, and you get your Radiant order, and now you have your tribe, and you have all the other. It's Harry Potter but larger, right?
Yeah,
cooler.
It is the best personality quiz, and like on that, you should do Elsecaller next, Cam. Like just you should.
That is the next one to do.
That's the right answer.
Oh, we'll see. I've done Dustbringer and Skybreaker so far, and I need something that doesn't have division in it. So to be fair, that's everything else, but still, it'll be nice to see something opposed to division. I might do Elsecaller because I've been seeing some people saying some stuff that Elsecaller isn't as good because there's a lack of synergy between transformation and transportation. So
I disagree personally. I think they meld really well.
Yeah, I mean that it's also just true for the books. Like transportation is just kind of broken, and not in a good way. Like it just doesn't work on Roshar right now. Like the Will Shapers can barely do it. Elsecallers can barely do it. So we still haven't seen the full capacity of what transportation is even supposed to look like.
But before we go, was there anything y'all wanted to leave us off with?
Olo?
Colo?
No, we're super happy to be here. Yeah, thanks so much for inviting us out. Yeah, I hope we get to play some RPGs in the future. Maybe even
that would be cool. I would be totally up if you guys because you guys said, right, you were interested in doing maybe some Cosmere RPG stuff for your channel. I wouldn't mind collaborating on that effort. I think that'd be really good. Give me a reason to do more TTRPG stuff. Maybe even get to play, but I'm also a forever GM, but I'm a forever GM by choice. I love it. I also just do my best work in that chair, but I think that'd be kind of cool. So, keep me in mind when you decide to solidify those plans a little bit more, and because definitely I've been getting a really good grip of the system, and I feel like getting into a group that's like very narratively focused, especially from what I've been hearing, I think would make for a really good time.
Absolutely. We'll definitely keep you in mind. Yeah.
Yep.
And Alex, anything my co-host you want to give before we end the stream today?
Yeah. Over on my own channel, Glue Boy, I cover me a lot of lore, and very much building off of this, on Monday I am going to release my Cosmere video, my magic on Roshar, how does it work, and also just a run through of all the orders, what they can do, and just as a nice little guide to pick what personality type you want. So go check that out on Monday.
Awesome.
All right. Well, with that, I guess we'll go ahead and say goodnight.
Good night.
Good
Bye,
night.
guys.
Good night.